What if I told you that you could have your own S/4HANA-like system? Just for you as a sandbox where you can practice administrative tasks, learn programming. Not in the cloud, not on a big server, but at your home. And even if it's not a complete S4 with full business logic, it won't matter to the Basis administrator or developer. I know that the hardware required to run HANA as an in-memory database has always been very expensive and inaccessible to mere mortals. But after all, the world is changing. SAP is opening up to the world, and hardware, including memory, is getting very cheap. What if I tried to install a private environment on a computer for $130? Yes, $130. Could it be done in 30 minutes? How do you bet? From complete ground zero, downloading and installing the operating system, database, and application. Possible or not? This is the right challenge for SAP Wizard. I even have the necessary computer. What a coincidence. I will use the Firebat T8 Plus mini PC, which I bought for $130. But it doesn't really matter what the computer is named. I bought a similar one recently for just over $100. The important thing is that such computers with an Intel N100 CPU are widely available, cheap and power efficient. My mini PC has 4 cores, 16 GB RAM, and 5 on 12 GB SSD. It may not be a speed demon, but it should be enough. We'll see. By the way, I'm a Linux guy, so you have to forgive me for the fact that all operations will be done using that system. You can do most things on Windows or Mac, too. Why not? This introduction is too long anyway. Let's go ahead. First, I will download a program with which I can write a Linux image to a flash drive to install the system on my mini PC. This is the right version for my system, which is 64-bit Linux. Let's download it. I'm moving this to my desktop. I need to add execution permissions to run it. And run it. The Balena Ether program has been started. But now I need to search an ISO image of Linux. So I'm looking for the latest version of Debian Linux. I'm interested in minimal version for network installation. In fact, I don't need an image file. I want to use the link directly in the flash drive program. The image will be downloaded and written at the same time. This is a Samsung flash drive plugged into the USB port of my computer. I will burn the image on it. I need to authenticate to elevate my permissions. Okay, it's flashing. By the way, I used the link instead of a file to simultaneously download and save the image. This should save a few moments. After all, this is a 30-minute challenge, isn't it? In the meantime, I will look for one site on the internet and show you something. Here is the website. This is my N100 CPU specification. As you can see, the processor has 4 cores and 4 threads. The maximum frequency is 3.40 GHz. The processor is from early 2023 and supports 16 gigabytes of memory. Its TDP is only 6 watts. It is very power efficient. The flashing process is about to end. Yes, this is not the fastest flash drive. It has just finished and verification is underway. It's done. So, now I can remove the flash drive and plug this into my Firebat mini PC. The flash drive is inserted, now the computer turns on. And I'm pressing the delete key to get to the BIOS. I'm checking the boot order to confirm that my computer will start from the USB drive. Linux installation starts. I'll use text mode, which may not be the most popular choice, but should be marginally faster. And after all, we are fighting for every single second. Not really? You got me, I actually like the console and text mode. I'm choosing my location and some language settings. It doesn't really matter much. The parameters have been selected, so the installation should begin in a moment. It actually takes a while and time is running out. Will it take off or not? Okay, something is starting to happen. Some components are being loaded. And again, nothing, a boring blue screen. And now the Ethernet connection detection appeared. Well, yes, I have 3 network cards here. And I have to choose the right one. The computer is now getting an IP address via DHCP. Done. I need to enter the name of my host. Let's call it Sandbox 2. No domain. I am assigning the root password. I have to enter it twice, of course, just to be sure. And now I have yet to create one user for myself. Of course, you also need to assign a password and confirm it. I select the entire drive and make sure it is the right one. All files on one partition. Confirmation of my choice. And one more confirmation. Installer is formatting the root partition. I should probably explain why I chose only one partition. Well, this computer will serve only one purpose. It will run ABAP Platform on it. So I will only run one large Docker image. One partition on the whole disk will just be more practical. In other cases, I choose a more sophisticated partitioning. To avoid a lengthy film, I will speed up the video from time to time. I will always mark it with a symbol. Of course, this will not affect the time measurement, which will also speed up. Installation of the base system is almost finished. And in fact, finished. Now, based on my location, I need to choose the right archive mirror of Debian, the closest to my location to avoid a long download process. I don't want to participate to any survey as this is a test installation, kind of proof of concept. Now I disable the installation of the desktop environment. I'll need an SSH server instead because that's how I'll connect to my server. I don't choose the graphical interface because it will be completely unnecessary. In addition, after all, I have to take care of the rather limited resources of my server. Besides, graphical interfaces are for softies. The installation is finished. Now I need to unplug my flash drive and reboot the mini PC. Now the server is rebooting. So far, 8 minutes have passed. The system is already booting after installation. I just want to check if everything is okay and get the IP address to connect to it over SSH. It started quickly. I'm logging and running IP command to get the address. SSH server is running, so I can connect to the freshly installed system from my PC. I am using the IP address I have just retrieved. This is the first connection, so I need to confirm the new key. And finally, I'm logged in. Now I need to see how to install Docker on a Debian 12 system. This is an official documentation from the Docker website. I will choose the fastest method with the installation script. After all, I am participating in a race against time. This is the command to download the script. I'm switching to root. It seems that curl is not installed. This is not a big deal. I need to install it. And done. This time, this is successful. Now I can run the script. Without sudo, because I'm already the root user. Dry run first. Then normal run. Installation is in progress. The process has been just finished. Now I can check if the service is running with systemctl status command. I can confirm that this is active. Let's go to the hub. The Docker hub, where we can find various Docker images, including the one which we are looking for. You can create an account here using your email, username, and password. I won't be doing that because I already have an account. Logging into Docker is done via the Docker login command. I am already logged in my terminal. I am looking for the correct image provided by SAP SE. This is an ABAP Platform Trial. This is the documentation page. Hardware requirements include 4 CPU, 16 gigabytes of memory, and 150 gigabytes of disk. Here is the command required to download the image. I will copy it and run it on my Debian. Downloading has just begun. You will probably soon notice that this is a very heavy image. There are more than 20 gigabytes to be downloaded. Fortunately, I have a gigabit connection to the internet, but it will still take a longer while. We can use this time to review the documentation. Here is the long command that launches the Docker instance after downloading the image. We will use it later. A bit of information on troubleshooting. Kernel parameters. Information about licenses for the application and for the HANA database. And here you have information about port forwarding. I'll say right away that it's not complete, but it'll do for now. You may be wondering what the ABAP platform is and how it relates to S/4HANA. The ABAP platform is the technical base of the S/4HANA system. You could say that ABAP platform is to S/4HANA what NetWeaver is to SAP ERP. Important piece of information. Password for the system. For the SAPstar user, but also for the developer. It is worth copying this password to yourself aside, because it will soon be used often. 6 gigabytes have been already downloaded so far. Let's speed it up a bit because it's getting boring. Frankly, I feel sorry for people who have slower connections. But of course, they don't have to keep staring at the screen all the time after all. To avoid wasting time, I will configure my SAP GUI. This is Linux, so I'm using the Java GUI. I'm creating a new connection. I can immediately go to the Advanced tab. I need to enter the system name. Since I already know all the necessary system parameters, I can enter the parameters in expert mode. I specify the IP of my system and the TCP port number derived from the instance number. Done and saved. The image has been already downloaded. This is now extracting, which is also a very long process. Depends of the hardware, of course. In the meantime, I will open a site where you can generate a license for your sandbox system. The right one is the first option on the list. Yes, the information may be misleading at first due to the version. But this is a 4H system. At the bottom, you fill in your details like name, surname, and email address. You also need to provide a hardware key, which we do not have at the moment. You will be able to get it, for example, from S-License transaction after logging into the system. Once all the data is entered, the site will generate a license file. You will be able to import it into the system in S-license transaction. How good it is that we have the option to speed up time. Otherwise, you could be bored to death. Finally, the image is extracted. Now I can issue that long command to run it. License agreement must be accepted. Again, we are facing a long part with nothing happening. It always takes a long time to start up the HANA database. The database has already launched. Now it is finishing the startup of the application server. Even if the process is not over yet, I will try to connect now. The login screen has appeared, so I can enter credentials. For now, the system has no license, so the only user allowed is SAPstar. I use the password that was provided on the Docker image page. And I'm in. Great. Now I can go and check how the license situation is. In the S-license transaction, of course. Just as I expected, all red. But at least I can obtain the hardware key. The key should be entered here. I will generate the license on a different screen so as not to show all the data. I'll copy the license file to the desktop. Install. Let's try to just drag and drop it. And success, all green. I'll log off now. When I manage to log into the system using the developer user credentials, I think we'll probably be able to consider the job done. And there it is, a perfect success. The task is done. Under half an hour, on a computer for $130. SIC transaction is green. No dumps reported in ST22. Let's see processes in SM66. Okay, this is compiling because running for the first time. But started quite quickly. Let's take a look at the system one more time to summarize everything. We have a system running on a $130 computer, working remarkably smoothly for the parameters. It seems to me that for a single user, nothing more is needed. The S4HANA Home Sandbox is theoretically designed mainly for programmers. But after all, the Basis administrator will also find something for himself here. I don't think I need to say what a great help in the preparation for exams such an environment can be. Undoubtedly, it is much easier to get started with SAP at the present time than it was many years ago. Of course, now in any field, access to knowledge is much easier, and the threshold for entry is often lower. You also have to take into account that the risks and perspectives are different. We have artificial intelligence, we have SAP Rise, which can spend the sleep of many basis administrators. Nevertheless, it is worth seeing the opportunities, not just the threats. In addition to the SAP GUI, we also have other options for working with the system. The environment is evolving, and today's SAP developers can use the Eclipse environment to develop projects. Not only ABAP code, but also other development-related objects. All they need to do is install the add-on and connect to SAP system to access the repository. Finally, SAP developers can use more modern standard tools. There is no denying that this is a considerable step forward. Of course, the old tools are still available, but now there is a choice. See how simple it is to create a project. Browse the library system. For me, it is faster and more convenient than the SE80 transaction. I believe that developers appreciate this. As you can see, you have an ABAP code, together with all required properties. I must admit that the integration is pretty solid, at least for me. But obviously, I'm not a developer. I noticed, however, that SAP support started using that tool for more complex code reviews. And finally, we also have Fiori, without which the environment would be incomplete. After all, web technologies have been developed by SAP for a long time, and I have the impression that this development has accelerated recently. And no fooling, Fiori is finally no longer a niche. Not only does it run much more efficiently, it's also easier to create programs. This is additionally reinforced by SAP's promotion of products like BTP, which makes me believe that this is the future. So you have no excuse anymore. It's time to take action. You can install your own S4HANA-like system at home. You can test, experiment, and learn whatever you want. If you combine this with the free tier of SAP cloud services like BTP, you will see that your opportunities for development in this area are virtually unlimited. Once more, it's time to take action. No excuses accepted.